All right, hi everybody, and welcome to our Library Makers webinar today for Craftivism in your Makerspace. For those that are new to Library Makers, we are a community of librarians from across the globe. We connect and support Library Maker staff of all levels and experience. We recognize the experience and strengths that each member brings to the community. We're always like, if you ever come check our chat boards, we're always sharing fun new stuff. We create safe and welcoming space for Library Maker staff to ask questions, share knowledge, find a mentor, develop skills, and exchange ideas with a diverse group of professionals. And we equip and advance library professionals to be innovative leaders in our field. If you're ever interested in joining our community, you can always make a free account on librarymakers.org. It's a lot of fun over there. And for anyone's interested, we are looking for committee members. For Library Makers, and you get to help kind of like organize events and stuff like that. For example, so my name's Kelly Nimitz. I'm from Lincoln Township Public Library, and my co-host is letting people in the room is Marnie from Skokie Library. We are part of the events and programming committee, as you see on here, and we help organize different webinars like this. So if you guys are interested, you can reach out for more details on librarymakers.org. So you guys were answering questions as you came in. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and close the poll for right now, and we'll kind of take a look and see what our results are. So looks like we have a lot of people from the Midwest and the South, mostly, and also the West and outside of the U.S. That's really awesome to see. A lot of us looks like we work in public libraries, with a few of us in academic libraries. So it's always great. And a lot of people from suburban and rural, that's always a fun word. Suburban and rural areas. We're happy to see everybody here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to our presenters. They'll introduce themselves and talk about the webinar today. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing and pass it over to you guys.
Hey, give me just a second. Hello, everybody. Happy Earth Day for those who celebrate. Um, we're all from a public library. As a public library, our bent on craftivism was less political and more about empathy, self-expression, and reusing or upcycling materials, which is why we chose to present on Earth Day. This here, if you scan the QR code or go to this URL, you'll get to the page of our toolkit, and that's where we really have everything. Let me see. I'm going to switch and show you where that will lead you. I think I lost it. Maybe I'll show you that later. So that's going to lead to a website that we have, and it has like one main Word document. We on purpose kept it as a Word document so that you can scale up or down your materials, modify the instructions for your audience, and take whatever ideas you can like copy, paste out of it, take the images, everything that you need for this like dozen so projects is in there. Go. Who are we? Okay. We were three coworkers, and my name is Annie Lee, she, her. I'm a reference librarian at the Des Plaines Library in Illinois. In a past life, I was a children's librarian and also a teen librarian. And now part of my job includes crafts and other programs for 20s and 30s and seniors, and everybody in between loves crafts and can't get enough here. And I don't have to tell you guys that, just the power of making things with your hands. That's me.
I'm Elizabeth Micah. I am the head of youth services here at Des Plaines Public Library. When we started this project, I was the program coordinator in youth services. And so that was kind of like how I got asked to be the contributor from the children's department. And I agree with everything Annie said about craftivism. It's been a wonderful journey for us, so we're so happy to share with you.
My name is Maureen Baca, and when we first started this project, I was working at Des Plaines Public Library as a reader services assistant, and now I work at the Bartlett Public Library as an adult services librarian. And I also do lots of programming with crafts, and all the adults really love it, regardless of age range.
So we're going to go over this even if you are already familiar, but there's a very deeper history to craftivism than I had thought in the beginning. Although the term is a newer one, the concept of activism through the making of crafts has been around for a long time. And in our area, Shannon Downey, aka Badass Cross Stitch, she's kind of like the patron saint of craftivism. She has an excellent program that goes deep into the history of craftivism. And she'll do it for your library in person or on Zoom. Examples from history include the Underground Railroad quilt, the Names Project AIDS Memorial Quilt, and the Show the Love campaign from the UK to raise awareness about climate change, just to name a few of them. Our view of craftivism is inviting and encompasses a wide range of actions. We include crafting that's motivated by individual growth as well as advancing social causes. This kind of handmade activism has a low barrier to entry and has ties to feminism, anti-consumerism, anti-sweatshop, and the DIY and slow movements. Many of our activities that we have in our toolkit address some aspect of sustainability, but some had an emphasis on empathy building, finding our voices, or reclaiming our time, or building digital analog balance into our lives. So on the macro end of the spectrum, patrons learn about large-scale political demonstrations, such as the Angel Action anti-hate protests. And then from a micro-activism perspective, we practice crafting as self-expression, as well as self-care to resist the urgency culture. Both are valid. As Shannon Downey says, self-care is the fuel of the resistance. So why take this on? Libraries are inherently green, safe, and inclusive spaces. We go against the cultural grain of production for profit and consumerism for single use. People know who we are, where we are, that we offer fun and valuable events for our
Yes,
communities.
dude, your zip just in case somebody arrives.
Have I been muted this whole time? Okay, I became muted just now.
Oh no,
Um,
I think yeah, there was like some kind of weird technical thing. So yeah, if we are recording, so if anyone like make sure if you're not presenting, just make sure you're just a reminder to keep your microphones muted. Thank you.
So libraries, we provide literal and figurative space and literal and figurative tools, and we're in a great position to facilitate safe and open discussion of inclusion, such as gender, race, age, ability, empathy towards others, and raise environmental consciousness, encouraging greening in creative and accessible ways at home. Okay, so like I said earlier, we got our grant. It was a micro grant, $1,000 from Shannon Downey. We promised to use it for craftivism programs and kits, and then to also turn around and make a toolkit that we can share out to everybody who maybe hasn't done this before to launch their own program or even do just even one of the crafts or activities. It made, oh, is this us? I think this is you. I'll pass it off to you.
All right. And it made sense for us to seek Shannon's generous support to really nurture our craftivist tendencies. And in 2023, Des Plaines Public Library received a micro grant from Badass Cross Stitch to launch a series of craftivism programs. And like many of yours, our community can't get enough crafting. And with this grant, we began introducing and or encouraging as many people as we could to try crafting activities while making the connection to craftivism and supporting a world needing care. And when applying for Badass Cross Stitches grant, our small team became aware that each of us had causes we had supported. These ranged from LGBTQ organizations, animal rights, St. Jude's, anti-human trafficking, refugee resettlement, Habitat for Humanity, community gardens, and so on. We represented different departments geared towards various audiences: youth services, reader services, reference, and teen. We all care about sustainability and is one of the goals of our library's strategic plans, as it may be for yours. We individually had our own crafting hobbies, and collectively we had an arsenal of crafting skills to share. It's okay if your library staff doesn't have an arsenal of crafting know-how. That's why I made the toolkit, hoping that it will give you the ideas and steps to implement the programs. And so we quickly realized we couldn't do just one or two activities. We planned a series that would begin with the $1,000 of grant programming, fully expecting to exhaust these funds, and move on with our regular programming budget. But I'm also here to say you don't need $1,000. Our aspirations were pretty big. Each time we released a take-home kit, we had over 100 of them, to give you an idea of how popular these activities were. Still, we didn't go too much beyond the money provided by the microgrant, proving you can do more than a year's worth of craft programming without breaking the bank. And we still had leftovers from bulk items like craft bags, compostable sandwich bags, and sticker labels that will have plenty of reason to use up. And then depending on the supplies your library already owns and the staff's powers of collecting and donating recyclables, you can see some of the crafts can be done for close to free or less than $1 per crafter.
In addition, sometimes our volunteer opportunities are rather limited compared to the amount of patrons who would like to offer help. Through these programs, we were able to open up some sessions for tweens and teens to volunteer by assisting with kit and program prep. They could fold, cut Craftivism zines to put in kits and share programs. They could help measure out, cut, singe ends of paracord for the paracord bracelet kit, done with supervision outside on a day when the weather is nice. They could stick labels onto take and make kits and help assemble the kits, instruction zine, materials, staple. For the seed bomb kits, they could make sure to have latex-free gloves on hand if volunteers desire them, because it may require getting hands dirty with dirt and clay powder. Sort plastic bags and make into plarn. That's a lot of sessions if you decide to do plarn programming. Attend any of the programs for service hours and spread the word. And then make a zine for the zine program. And if they attend the program, show and tell their zine and process, for an example. Within your library, you have many important pieces in place, which it allows us to really multiply our engagement efforts when we utilize those within our community. Equipment, space, know-how, graphic design and marketing folks, and a creative community. Even if you don't have some of these contributors, that's what the toolkit will help you with. That was a huge part of our intent. Outside the library, we researched organizations who request handmade donations. Some include Ryan's Case for Smiles, PADS, and Operation Gratitude, which you'll hear about shortly. You can also seek partnerships with your local children's hospital, your local animal shelter, Knots for Love, local schools, art teachers, environmental service or art clubs, homeless shelters, and assisted living facilities. So with the youth programs, we used a lot of fun collected recyclables to create craft ideas and STEM programs. We got to a point where we had too many paper towel rolls, and we still joke about it because we could probably have built a castle out of them. Assess whether you want to group the youth programs into the Craftivism campaign. If it seems like your community won't be receptive, perhaps plan programs that fall under that Craftivism umbrella, but don't brand them within the Craftivism campaign. It really does depend on your community. In our case, I just decided that we couldn't really call them Craftivism, but we definitely, as we will share, had ones that we felt fell into the Craftivism, um, like under the umbrella that we had created. And then use the programs as opportunities for conversations that teach the kids and families about environmentalism, community improvement, inclusivity, and all that goes with it.
We're going to segue into the projects, which are in the toolkit.
And so one of the first kits that we had were the paracord bracelets for Operation Gratitude. And we had patrons give the option of making two, one for them to keep and one for them to donate. And then we had an embroidery program with Shannon Downey that was held on Zoom. And that was a good way to introduce patrons to sewing, which was a good introduction program. And then another program we had was making book safes. And this was a great way to use books that were no longer going to be used in reference and to make them into a fun craft. And then one of our more popular programs that we have that we do quite frequently is making dog toys for the local animal shelter. And then teens get an hour of service hours every time they complete one. And then one of the programs that I was personally responsible for was crocheting with plarn, which is plastic bags turned into yarn. And so we made small tote bags and then later bracelets.
This one was a kit, though you can do it in person as well. Like a lot of these can translate either way, as a kit or in person. But we measured out like the amount of soil, clay powder, and then some seeds for them to make into seed bombs. And then we also kind of gave a little packet that is included in the toolkit that explains like where this came from, where this idea came from, and like how to do it and to do it in your own yard or, spaces that would be welcoming of it. So not just, in your neighbor's yard or throwing them anywhere. And this one, I believe, is one that I had kind of calculated out the prices. It was like $1 per person per kit, and each kit made like 20 or something like that, 20 balls. This is pillowcases for hospitalized kids. This is where we partnered with Ryan's Case for Smiles, which is a nationwide organization that you can look up and find your closest chapter. They provide an easy pillowcase tutorial online, and we did our own. Lots of people wanted to do this, so it was more than the number of people we could allow, like more than the number of seats. So people would do it at home and actually donate because they just wanted to help. We also just have it was actually 5 sewing machines. And I think we had 15 people per session because you don't sew the whole time. You only sew basically like 2 lines, but they were able to share the machines. This is just a snapshot of when people came to make cards for hospitalized kids. This is local to us in the Midwest. This foundation, it's also just simply Cards for Hospitalized Kids. You can look it up online. It was founded by a kid who used to be she was a hospitalized kid who received a card, and it really made a difference to her in her day. She wanted to start doing this for others. And this is one of our staple programs that we have for teens and kids to do year-round. They love doing it, and it's it's just a nice thing to do. It fosters empathy of how people might feel when they're having like a chronic illness or disability. So we did this for teens, tweens. I think they do it as a passive craft in youth services, and we did it for adults. She's in college now, so she'll actually speak if you request. And we had her for the teens because she actually was a teen. We were lucky to have her as a teen in our teen advisory board. Um, so it's really neat for young people to see someone just a little bit ahead of them or just a little older who did something great that they get inspired. And this is kind of one of those catch-all programs where you can put in your remainder supplies like little buttons or stickers or scrap paper that have been left over from previous crafts. It's a good way to use those up. You just want to make sure that you follow their guidelines for like kind of things that you include or don't include in a card. This one was our visible mending program. You can see how full the room was, and we had a wait list. So when I put this out there, it's sometimes you think, oh, our patrons will love this, or I don't know about that, but really you can't assume what they're going to love. We did not expect so many people to want to do visible mending. And we just had a person on staff who was very knowledgeable do it, and I helped go around the room. But people were invited to bring in an object like a sweater with a hole or anything they wanted to work on. And we gave them tips. We gave them some samples of needles and thread and different methods that they could use. This is t-shirt upcycling, which maybe many of you have done. We've done it for the teens and we did it for adults as well. And in it, we taught several different projects so people could pick one to start with. One was modifying a top into another top. One was making t-shirt yarn out of t-shirt that you could crochet or macrame with or knit with. And then I think the third was a tote bag. And that was just like a launching pad, but there's tons of books and you can make a whole display of that. Altered board books was a fun one because it's very like open to whatever topic anybody wants to put in theirs. It can be a travel log, it can be a gratitude journal, it can really be, and it could be a baby book, it could be anything. It could just be a junk like collage journal, art journal. And this is also one that we used our weeded board books. And you can, some of them take some effort, but a lot of them you can just peel back the pages so it reveals just a blank white underneath. And that's a pretty cool one. And then you can paint over it, write in it, do glue into it, anything. So using weeded board books and materials that we already had on hand that were not really slated for a specific purpose or maybe were left over from previous ones, this one could be really close to free. And we also gathered up our magazines, our old discarded magazines for collage material.
All right, this is the zine making. We took a couple of different approaches to zine making. We did a in-person program for I think maybe for teens, but it might have also been for adults. And that was a really well-received program as well. I'm sure if you're familiar with zine making, you can use it to make, like kind of a mini informational pamphlet, or you could use it to share your art. Or you could do anything with a zine. You fold it a specific way so it makes a little booklet, and then you just kind of run with it with your creativity. one of our popular kids programs, and I mentioned the paper towel tubes here. This was a really fun one. It was Design Your Own Marble Run. And one of the great parts of this program, and it was one of those unexpected benefits, like Annie said, where you put the program out there and you're not really sure what might happen. This program was so beautifully intergenerational that we saw grandparents helping the kids make the marble run, and parents, and the kids were a really nice age range. And I think probably the most fun part of this program is watching them test their marble run, and then like they're just pure excitement when it works. And the learning when it doesn't work. And we used all recycled materials except for like the tape to put it together. But yeah, everything was like recycled cardboard, scraps of paper, and it was a lot of fun.
Can I say that I had a stockpile of those paper towel rolls, and I was like, I'll just throw out. No, me and my son made the marble run at home, and it's like you don't have to buy a plastic expensive toy that's going to end up in a landfill. He had so much fun doing it, and it's so simple.
Yeah, yeah, that is also part of the goal for us. My thought on craftivism for the kids was to encourage self-expression and what you can learn, and then also to encourage them to see both kids, parents, grandparents, other caregivers. You can make fun out of anything you have at home. In this case here, we made this cute little drive-in movie program. If your library is like our library, you have an abundance of cardboard boxes. We just saved a bunch. And then we made little cars that they could decorate, and they sat in their box and watched a movie with their snacks. And I mean, look at those smiles, and look at just like they're going all in for that craft. And it was a lot of fun. So I encourage you to just, if you have the space, save up the boxes and do one of these. It'll be delightful for all of you. And the other approach to zines that we took was for the kiddos. We did a family reading night kit, and they got the materials to make zines as a family. For the family reading night kits, we put in materials for 4 people to do the craft, so they would have had that many materials. You see here our adorable raccoon mascot, Rocky the raccoon. He's having a good day. He came to the library and did all this stuff, and that's our little example zine that we put out there. And I think for this one, we also have, at some point, we did a program where we call it DIY with DPPL, and it's for the older kids, and they have a video online that they can watch. So it shows them how to like fold the zine and stuff. So I have access to that if anybody wanted to see, the folding process, because I know that can be a little tricky. But yeah, zines are kind of an inexpensive, very creative program. And you might find that in your community, you have people who don't know what they are, but then once they learn, that's just, they love it because it's just such a tool of self-expression.
So we have just a few tips. I say just start with one. There's no pressure to do them all or have a campaign. We just want to inspire you here to use what you have to encourage your community. And they did love it. They didn't like poo-poo on the quality of materials during these programs compared to any other of the crafts. Like Elizabeth said, consider what types of crafts that staff already know and how to adapt them for craftivism. You probably are already doing things that could be called craftivism without calling it that. you don't have to do this as well, but we created a Craftivism at your library logo because we knew ahead of time we were going to do this big series. So it can get your patrons asking, oh, what is that? And hey, tell me more. Oh, I want to say about the intergenerational, it builds community because the older people will talk to each other, the older people, and then also with the kids. And it makes for rich conversation because I've noticed people of different generations have nuanced experiences with and like relationships with materials and sustainability in their daily lives. So often they'll be like, "Oh, growing up, we use this for that, and we didn't just throw it out." And it's interesting. Did I have more? Oh, I did have another tip that you might think about the order. This is in our toolkit as well, but the order in which you do material related programs. So, for example, we did Shannon's program, the Craftivism 101 Zoom, early in the campaign to give people a foundation of craftivism and sewing skills. And then we advertised a t-shirt program at our visible mending program so that people could use the skills that they learned in mending for the t-shirts. The pillowcase program we pre-cut them to the sizes. If you have the time, you can have them do it, but either way, it will provide patches and patch material for the mending program. And then the pet toys, t-shirt and pillowcase programs all provide waste scrap fabric that can be saved and used for anything that requires stuffing. So we didn't do one here, but like anything that you would stuff, like if you're making a pillow, if you're doing an amigurumi program, that's good stuffing for that. And you don't have to use like a huge bulky amount of polyfill that you have to store that like ends up being squished to a tiny, tiny ball. Anything else?
I already said basically what's on here about the children's programming, but you know, just a simple way to begin incorporating it is just to talk to the kids about what they're doing. They love to help. So you know, if you tell them about how what they're playing with that is saving something from going into the trash and maybe taking a long time to um you know, to turn to compost or whatnot, it actually, like, you know, they love information and they love to help. So a lot of the times you could just talk about it kind of casually while they're doing their craft, and it will add to their understanding of the world around them.
So here again is the QR code and URL for the toolkit, which you'll also get after this program. Like I said, it's a Word document. It comes with all these other little parts. There's some accompanying PDFs and other files that didn't fit neatly in with the Word document. And there's all of that, and we have resources lists. I would encourage everyone here, since we are spread out, that you know, spread your social butterfly wings and see who you can partner with close to you. There might be some like green organizations that you already work with. There's a lot of things that happen to go along with this, even though they weren't craftivism. Like in the same summer, we had a clothing swap, and people who are regular patrons who know about this are kind of like in the craftivism mindset now. And they're like, yes, clothing swap, which is one of the best things you can do for like combating clothing pollution. I think that's all that we have for you. Really, please take a look at it, download it, steal it,
Share it.
share it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all that information. We're gonna open it up right now. If anybody has any questions, you're willing to drop everything into the chat if you like, or if you wanted to come off mute real quick and ask your questions directly, you're welcome to do that. Okay. Well, I guess if there's if there's not anything else, would you ladies mind if you wanted to share like your contact information in case anyone did have questions or about anything that we talked about here?
Yeah, we certainly will. Let me go back to our contact slides.
Oh, someone did ask a question, is the Plarn bag project in the toolkit?
You want to take this?
Yeah, it's in the toolkit for sure.
So we actually have, that's our hands-on portion. Maybe some of you already know how to make Plarn, but we welcome you to Plarn along with us. And if you don't know, Maureen is going to teach us. If you are ready to leave, that's okay with us. We won't be offended. Let me just quickly share that contact information again, and we will have this up. I believe you'll have links to the recording.
Yep. So yeah, so this is going to be posted on our YouTube channel if you guys ever wanted to come back and revisit it or if there's something you missed. But for right now, I'll go ahead and stop the recording here. But I'll give a quick thank you to our presenters for coming out today. And if you are willing to stay behind for a little bit, we'll do the Plarn activity together. And Marnie is going to real quick share. So if you guys wanted to give us your opinions on what you thought of this program, just take some time to fill out the survey that we'll share here in the link. So again, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording and we'll do our hands-on portion here real quick.